is intoxicated with the idea of talent. From childhood, we are told stories of prodigies, of the child who played Mozart at 4, the teenager who coded an empire, the artist who never studied yet painted like a god. We worship these anomalies as if they are divine exceptions, evidence that greatness is a matter of birthright. But this is a myth, a dangerous one. The true engine of mastery is not talent, but an invisible, merciless process. It is discipline, it is repetition, it is the slow, grueling transformation of the self through voluntary suffering. Talent may give you a spark, a faint edge in the beginning, but it cannot carry you across the brutal terrain of mastery. Only the individual who understands the value of long, invisible labor will survive that path. To master anything, you must surrender to obscurity. You must disappear from the spotlight. While others are parading their half-formed identities, you will be alone, unseen, uncelebrated, grinding through the raw mechanics of your craft. You will be in the workshop while they are on stage. You will be rejected while they are praised. But this phase, this hidden period of silence and solitude, is not a punishment. It is a privilege. It is here that you burn away the superficial parts of yourself. It is here that you become dangerous. You cannot fake depth. In every domain, there is a point at which imitation collapses. The performer who mimics emotion is eventually exposed. The strategist who copies others is trapped when the rules change. The writer who leans on style without substance finds themselves empty. The shallow eventually drown. But those who have given themselves over to the long, unspectacular rituals of practice, the ones who have sharpened every detail, studied every failure, embraced every correction, these are the ones who endure. Because while talent fades and novelty dies, mastery compounds. It grows silently in the background until it becomes a force so refined, so exact, that it appears effortless. This is the illusion that fools the masses. They see the result, but not the road. They see the performance, but not the pain. The tragedy is that most people never taste this level of power because they cannot tolerate the early phase of slowness. In the beginning, progress is barely visible. You study, you repeat, you fail, you repeat again, and still nothing seems to change. This is where the weak escape. They chase shortcuts, switch paths, seek validation. But the one who embraces this inertia, the one who sees it not as failure but as initiation, begins to build something unshakable. Each repetition is a brick, each mistake a teacher, each hour spent in focused solitude a blow to the ego and a gift to the soul. There is also something more sinister at play. Those who possess true mastery rarely speak of it. They do not waste time proclaiming their abilities. They are too busy refining them. It is the mediocre who scream loudest. The truly skilled often walk in silence because they understand that mastery is not about attention. It is about control. The control of time, of tools, of craft, of emotion, of self. They do not need to announce themselves because their work does the talking. And when the time comes, they move with such precision, such clarity, that the world must take notice. To believe in talent is to hand over your power to the abstract. To believe in mastery is to reclaim it. The path is long, the pain is real, but so is the reward, not fame, not applause, but something deeper, freedom, freedom from mediocrity, from dependence, from weakness. You become your own weapon, sharpened by your own hands. And in a world where most are searching for shortcuts, you become the anomaly, quiet, focused, deadly in the age of immediacy, where gratification arrives with a click and attention spans are carved into fragments. Patience is mistaken for weakness. The impatient move quickly, loudly, and aimlessly. They celebrate momentum, even if it leads nowhere. But those who understand power, true, lasting, quiet power, know that time is not their enemy. It is their most lethal weapon. Strategic patience is not passive. It is not idly waiting. It is calculated stillness. It is knowing precisely when to act and when to hold. It is watching the board without making a move, knowing that each second of restraint sharpens the blade for when it must be used. Every master tactician has understood this principle. The general does not rush into battle because he is provoked. The predator does not strike because it is hungry. They wait, not from fear, but from clarity. The world confuses movement with progress, and so it rushes, panics, reacts. But the one who trains himself in delayed action sees the larger game unfolding. He observes the patterns others miss. He studies the weaknesses time reveals. He lets his enemies reveal themselves. He lets the conditions ripen. He holds his tongue when others speak. He keeps his plans in the shadows while others boast. And then, at the precise moment, he acts with such force and certainty that those who mocked his stillness are silenced by the violence of his clarity. Strategic patience requires something that most cannot endure: discomfort. The discomfort of waiting while others seem to move ahead. The discomfort of not being seen, not being praised, not being understood. It means resisting the primal urge to prove yourself too soon. It means withholding your ideas, your strength, your vengeance until they can no longer be ignored. This form of patience is cold, not sentimental. It does not hope that things will get better. It watches until the moment when intervention becomes absolute. Then it moves with a precision that others mistake for luck. The greatest power lies in timing. A move made too early reveals your position. A move made too late forfeits your advantage. But a move made exactly when it needs to be made becomes irresistible. Strategic patience, therefore, is a form of control, not over others, but over yourself. You master your own instincts, your own need for validation, your own hunger for speed. You tame the chaos within long enough to use the chaos outside. You stop acting like prey and begin to think like a predator, slow, deliberate, and mercilessly precise. Throughout history, the most dangerous individuals have been those who knew how to wait. They planted seeds long before others even recognized the soil. They let their rivals rise unchecked, fattened by their own arrogance, unaware that their success was being measured and studied. Patience, in this context, is not just endurance. It is manipulation. You let time do your work for you. You let your silence breed assumptions. You let the world misjudge your stillness as incompetence, as fear, as indecision. And then, when the moment is right, you reveal that what looked like inactivity was in fact a trap being built around them the entire time. To master strategic patience is to step outside the frantic rhythm of modern life. It is to operate on your own timeline, governed not by pressure but by principle. It is to observe when others react, to conserve when others expend, to grow in silence while others rot in noise. And when you finally act, there will be no hesitation, no second guessing, no regret. There will only be the quiet unfolding of something inevitable, because you waited for the moment when no other outcome was possible. This is not patience as virtue, it is patience as strategy, as discipline. As war, intelligence, as it was once defined, belonged to the static. It was measured by how much you knew, how well you followed rules, how quickly you could recall facts or solve predefined problems. That form of intelligence, rigid, mechanical, predictable, belongs to a dying world. In this new age of relentless change, information is cheap, rules are unstable, and the problems are unlike anything we've seen before. The only form of intelligence that matters now is adaptability, the ability to bend without breaking, to unlearn with speed, to shift identities without losing core intention. It is not those who know the most who will survive, but those who can let go of what they know when it no longer serves them. Adaptability is not an instinct. It is a choice, a violent act of ego dismantling. To be adaptable, you must kill your former self repeatedly. You must shed your skin, abandon what once made you special, and step into uncertainty with nothing but your raw attention. This is a process most people avoid. They would rather cling to outdated expertise, recycled beliefs, and obsolete strategies than admit that their identity must evolve. But those who are truly intelligent are not afraid to die many small deaths. They see the collapse of certainty not as failure, but as initiation. They understand that survival now requires constant mutation. Adaptability is dangerous because it is fluid. It is hard to pin down, hard to control. The adaptable individual cannot be categorized or contained. They are comfortable moving between worlds, between languages, between systems of thought. They do not fight to preserve what no longer works. They discard it. They move. This terrifies institutions built on rigidity. It threatens leaders who rely on repetition. It dissolves hierarchies that once seemed permanent. The adaptable mind flows through cracks, reassembles itself, and outmaneuvers opponents who are still clinging to yesterday's map. In the battlefield of power, adaptability is the ultimate misdirection. While others build elaborate defenses around what they already know, the adaptable person moves like smoke. They do not declare their method. They adjust it in real time. They do not hold onto tools. They treat them as disposable. They do not attach themselves to trends. They ride them until they collapse, and then they shift again. What looks like chaos from the outside is, in fact, a deeper form of order, an intelligence based not on control, but on response. Not on domination, but on rhythm. Those who adapt quickly have trained themselves to listen deeply, unflinchingly. They listen to patterns, to failure, to feedback, to silence. They do not take disruption personally. They treat change as a signal, not an insult. Their pride is not in being right, but in being responsive. They will become the student again and again. They will be humble enough to start over, ruthless enough to discard what slows them down, wise enough to know when the terrain has changed. What most people call chaos is merely unfamiliar order. The adaptable do not fear this. They study it. They embed themselves in it until new instincts emerge. While others panic, they recalibrate. While others resist, they evolve. In this way, adaptability becomes a kind of prophecy. The adaptable sense what's coming before it arrives, because they've already abandoned the past in preparation for it. They are not tied to methods. They are tied to outcomes, and they understand that to reach those outcomes, their methods must remain in constant flux. This is the intelligence that rules the future, not the loudest voice in the room, not the most decorated expert, not the one with the longest resume, but the one who can remain coherent in motion, the one who can rebuild themselves from the wreckage of each moment, the one who can learn without ego, move without fear, and transform without losing center. They do not merely survive change, they are the change. So, understand this, the game has changed. The world no longer rewards those who cling to fixed identities, rigid knowledge, or outdated methods. It rewards those who can evolve without hesitation, who can discard comfort for clarity, who can step into the unknown without needing a guarantee. Adaptability is no longer optional, it is survival. But for those who embrace it fully, it becomes something even greater than survival. It becomes domination. While others are broken by disruption, you will bend and reform. While they cling to the familiar and fall, you will become the unfamiliar and rise. Because in this new world, intelligence is not about what you know. It's about how quickly you can become something new.